before in history have children or adults taken 3 vaccines in one flu season. There are so many signs that more vaccines don't equal better health. The very same year that Medicare began to cover flu vaccines for seniors, hospital visits skyrocketed from complications. Hugh Fudenberg, one of the world's most quoted biologists, studied seniors who got 5 consecutive flu shots between 1970 and 1980. His conclusion was that if a senior got 5 flu shots in a 10-year period of time, they are 10 times more likely to get Alzheimer's disease because of the accumulation of aluminum and mercury in the body.
Really, there are enough safety issues that we could talk for hours, but consider just a few more highlights. During the pathetic and ridiculous swine flu vaccine trials the FDA is conducting, they're using a vaccine that does not even contain thimerosal. But just as you guessed, this is not the same vaccine that they have in mind for us. This vaccine will only be tested for a few weeks on a few hundred adults and children. Then it will be given to children and pregnant mothers first. The flu vaccine, like all vaccines, is a one-size-fits-all approach. Babies and children will get the very same vaccine as a 280-pound man. This is not sound science and carries grave risks for children or those who are immune deficient. As it stands, we already have a whole generation of children who are immune compromised, and many that are suffering with autism, ADD, seizure disorder, diabetes, and asthma. These children are at an even higher risk for potentially severe reactions to this vaccine.
First responders will be next, so God bless our police, firemen, EMS, nurses, and other first responders. In 2001, a bill was passed that totally protects any vaccine manufacturer of all liability from injury or death.
There's been discussion administering vaccines to children right in the schools. This is another huge concern. The Childhood Vaccine Safety Act of 1986 set up very clear safety guidelines when giving vaccines to children, to include the following measures. First, it is required to provide written benefit and risk information to parents before giving vaccines. Right now, our government wouldn't even be able to accurately tell parents of the risk. Accurate written record of manufacturer's name and lot number must also be kept and must be recorded in the children's medical records. Then, children must be carefully monitored after vaccination. All serious health problems that develop and all adverse events must be reported to the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System. Question: how are the schools going to ensure that these safety rules are followed? How are they going to comply with this if they line children up in schools like cattle and vaccinate them? How can the government properly inform us of the risks when they haven't done adequate studies? Are parents going to have the right to say no? For the poor citizens in Massachusetts, a new law was just passed that if people refuse the vaccine, they can get fined $1,000 per day and up to 30 days in jail. This will turn American citizens who want to make their own healthcare decisions into criminals. This is wrong and it violates our rights as American citizens.
Now that you are aware of all of the problems with this swine flu program, we want to share a plan of action that we believe is our only hope to stop this mandate from Washington. In 1994, the Brady Bill was signed by Bill Clinton, which was to promote gun control. This bill would force the sheriffs across the county to enforce the new gun control bill or get arrested. This is an example of the United States Congress passing an unconstitutional law and then threatening to arrest any sheriff who refused to carry out the enforcement. Sheriff Richard Mack of Arizona filed a lawsuit against the federal government to end the nonsense and the abuse. As the case proceeded, 6 other sheriffs joined him. He was the first sheriff ever in the nation to file a lawsuit against the federal government, and he won the case in June 27, 1997.
The Supreme Court ruled that the Brady Bill was in fact unconstitutional and that the federal government could not command or state our county officers for federal bidding. The ruling stated at least 3 times that states were not subject to federal direction. In the ruling, Justice Scalia wrote for them stating, the federal government may not compel the states or enact or enforce a federal regulatory program.
The implications of this ruling may be shocking to many Americans. This revealed a well-hidden system, checks and balance instituted in our Constitution. The person with the ultimate authority in this state is the county sheriff. He has always been the chief law enforcement officer in the county. His power is even above the governor's. By the way, sheriffs are part of the executive branch of government, along with the president, as he is an executor of the law. The American Constitution set in place protection for those who would like to encroach on the freedoms of the people. This includes the federal government officials who would abuse their authority, trample the Constitution, and turn their backs on the people they serve.
In order for the Founding Fathers to perpetuate the principles of the Constitution, they secured a provision in Article 6, Paragraph 3, which states very clearly, all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. What this means is that all peace officers, including the police, take an oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution. Our Founding Fathers knew that someday the government could become oppressive and usurp their power against the people. The message is loud and clear to all peacekeeper officers. You have sworn a solemn oath to uphold, support, and obey the United States Constitution. The question is, how do officers keep that oath, and to whom do they owe its fulfillment? That oath is to protect the people who voted him or her into position. It is an oath to allegiance to liberty, freedom, and justice.
America was founded as a constitutional republic, a representative form of government with extremely limited powers, confined within the parameters expressively set forth by the supreme law of the land, the Constitution itself. The Bill of Rights prohibits Congress from making any law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, forbids infringement of the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and prohibits the federal government from depriving any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The Bill of Rights plays a central role in American law and government and remains a fundamental symbol of the freedom and culture of the nation. The Declaration of Independence in paragraph 2 states, quote, all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To summarize the Supreme Court ruling, 1. The sheriff has more power in the state than the president, the police, and any other peacekeeping agents. 2. The federal agencies can no longer do whatever they damn well please. 3. The state legislatures are not subject to federal direction. And 4, quote, the federal government may not compel the states to enact or enforce a federal regulatory program. Unfortunately, by our apathy, we have lost sight of this. Now is the time to take our power back and act.
The mandating of a national flu vaccination program, which does not consider the rights of the individual, is against the Constitution. There will be many who will be injured by this mass vaccine program. This program violates our religious exemption, violates our philosophical exemption, and violates our medical exemptions.